All right, here we go. Three, two, one, and we alive. How you doing, friends? This is Ernie with PatternCast. I used to say with Trader of Futures, but now it really is just PatternCast. Trader of Futures is still alive, but all my energy, all my power is going into this service here. We launched PatternCast originally. I would say that we first gave a taste of it in early 2018. We launched the service for real on October 4th of last year, and our purpose was to introduce this technology to the world and what a difference it could make. Now, and it has proven, I think, everything that we hoped that it would. It helps traders in an immeasurable way to take a lot of the worry, a good portion of the worry about trying to figure out which way the market's going and concentrate on what's most important, and that is on your execution and your risk and managing that risk and not having to worry about which way the market's going because you had a definitive edge in something by using real statistical analysis, pattern recognition, going back and looking at reams of data and exposing patterns that you simply could not see, giving you a real advantage. Now, that went great. And now what we found is that in certain times in the market, patterns start becoming a little bit less visible, even to an engine like PatternCast. And that particularly happens when volatility starts dropping. And we had talked about this for a long time about, how do we find volatile markets, using with PatternCast, because that's really what it's good at. It's because we spread it out across many different markets, futures, forex, and stocks. We felt that there's always going to be a volatile market somewhere. Well, right now that's really not the case. There was a little bit of volatility injected back into the market, but for the most part, and especially being summertime, volatility has dropped off dramatically, and so it's very, very difficult to uncover those things in the market. And I've been wanting to do something that how can we find that volatility? And obviously the answer there was with cryptocurrencies, but the problem with that is finding credible sources of data. And that's a huge issue because of the unregulated markets, the sheer number of cryptocurrencies. Of course, you have Bitcoin, but then you have a lot of these other more stable coins and less than shit coins. Then you have all the other shit coins, and then you have all these different exchanges that were just like the Wild West. But what you did have in there was volatility, and particularly with Bitcoin. Where in the normal markets, a day where you have a 2 or a 3% move, that would be considered outrageous. When with Bitcoin, 2 or 3% is like at the low end of movement. It's more often that you see 5 to 10 or 15%. And systems, regardless of whether it's PatternCast or any other kind of automated or other type of signal finding service, or any kind of trading for that matter, it thrives on volatility. But because we weren't able to find good, stable sources of data, and lots of it, because, again, this is really a statistical game here, where we're trying to find patterns in reams and reams of data, but if the data sucks, it's hard. So what we did was we found a way, and we took the lead from the CME and the CBOE and others, where they looked at aggregate sources of data. They went out and found the biggest exchanges, were able to aggregate them, volume weight them, and weight them with other proprietary means to come up with a singular exchange that used the power of all the different exchanges together to gather up enough statistical data and quality data that made sense, that you could actually peer into and see patterns. And that's what we've done. We've come up with our own feed, our own mechanism, and it took a lot of work, including a lot of development time and thinking about how this is going to work for us to find that. And then we were thinking about, well, how do you then express that to somebody? How do you say, well, we can't just say, hey, get in at this point and get out at this point, because that would depend on what exchange you're using. And because we're using an aggregate exchange, an aggregate of exchanges, that meant that we had to look at trading Bitcoin a little bit differently. And that's not a big problem. I mean, it would be a big problem if the moves that we were trying to capture were very small, like 1 or 2% moves. But we don't have that. We're looking at capturing 5, 10, 15, 20% moves. So the idea then that has bubbled up, and people are asking me about this, how do I interpret these signals, Ernie? How do I look at these signals that are coming out of the PatternCast, BitcoinCast system if I don't have like an entry and an exit? Well, see, the truth really is, even in the original PatternCast, although we provide entries and targets, we also made it very clear that those entries and targets they're really nothing more than statistical means over many, many different occurrences that happened over decades, So there is no real entry or target. There's a predicted move that's going to happen and a magnitude of that move. But we were able to put it into a little bit more definitive terms by giving you a level to get in and a place to get out, things to shoot for. And that seems to have worked out. But with Bitcoin, it's very different. Excuse me for a second. Got an itchy nose. Does that mean I'm going to get into a fight? That's the old... Anyways, so the way you have to look at the signals that are coming out of I'm going to call it BitcoinCast, is that we're looking for moves, either moves going up or moves going down, that are going to have a certain magnitude. The duration of that move is always the same. We're looking at it might be expanded a little bit, 4 to 5 days. But I think 4 days, that's all the system really looks at. So for 4 days, possibly 5, we're looking for a move to happen of a certain magnitude. And our very first call that we put out on Friday was reflective of that. When we put out the call, Bitcoin in most exchanges was at about 11,300. And our prediction was that it would be moving in a positive direction, because that's what the data shows us after this pattern that we recognize. And it was a relatively rare pattern that had about 9 occurrences, but they were in that 9 occurrences, 8 times we had a very positive move of a very strong magnitude, 10% or more. And so that's what we're expressing in this call. And let me just show you what that might look like. See if I can get it up here. There it is. All right, so it's over my shoulder. So this is what a typical PatternCast call will be. So we'll have a date that it's generated on. In this case, it was August 10th. That was 2 days ago. And so by that, the call should be good until tomorrow or the next day. I guess tomorrow will be the 13th, right? So then the next day would be Wednesday. So this call is good until Wednesday. The scan type isn't relatively important. I mean, they're always going to be a Bitcoin. The alpha is a designation that we have out there. The pattern key, this is the actual pattern that PatternCast has spit back at us. Now, this is kind of cryptic. This is kind of its own language that it came up with. It's the pattern that it recognized. And you can see that it's a relatively long string of letters that depicts a combination of elements that are coming together to describe this pattern. And the total number of occurrences that have happened since the beginning of time of all the data that we've had. And it's a fairly strong pattern where, of the 9 times, we've noticed that there has been a strong move in a positive direction, or as along 8 of those times. And really, really strong, with a target of 12,649. So from where we started at 11,3 to 12,649, let's do a little math on that. So 12,649 minus 11,300 equals 1,349. So a move of $1,300 divided by, let's see here. That's an 11.5% move. 11.5%. So we can see right here. Here's my calculation. Multiply that times 100. So 8 out of 9 times when it's seen this pattern before, it has moved. Now, granted, that's not a huge data set, and sometimes when we get data sets on these moves, we'll get as many as 20 or 30 occurrences or more. With PatternCast, we were always looking, when we're looking at futures or Forex or stocks, we can go back 20 years of data, sometimes 30, and we can see, 80, 100, 200 occurrences. Of course, with Bitcoin data, we can only go back to about 2014. So we have a much smaller data set, but because we have such grandiose volatility, we can discern a lot of these patterns. They become more clear, at least to PatternCast, not necessarily to our own eyes. Now, I know that somebody's going to complain about, I forgot to change the title here, so we'll do that. That was the last show that I did, so we'll change this. Bitcoin patterns. Today is Monday, August 12th. Seeing Bitcoin pattern. That's good. There we go. There's a more proper title right there. So we got some questions here. One is, are Bitcoin cast signals given 24 hours in advance? So we have a session in Bitcoin, although there aren't really any sessions, but there is an artificial session that we use and that most of the data is based on, and that is the sessions start at UTC 0 and end at UTC 0. So when we put out now I am minus 5 hours of UTC 0. So when we put out a signal, it is for that session, that new session coming, right? So let's see, UTC 0, let's see, right now what is UTC 0 then? I'll have to look that up. But assume that when we put out that signal, it is now good for the next 24 hours. The Argentinian market just collapsed. I'm not sure why that's important to us. And BTC ARS is up 16%. That's interesting. So when you get a signal delivered to your inbox, assume that that signal is then good for the next approximately the next 24 hours, maybe a little bit less, because it takes us. We have to wait until that session ends before we can actually discern the signal, and then we put it out. The cool thing is that unlike the futures market or stock market, Bitcoin doesn't take a break. It's on 7 days a week, so we could potentially have a signal any day of the week. And so that's cool. So when you're looking at these signals, that's the way you have to look at it. A signal comes up, we can see very clearly that this is going to be a long. That's when it was generated, August 10th, right there. And then the occurrences. You can use that occurrences as kind of your guide for how strong of a signal this is. Of course, the more occurrences that you have and the higher number of actual detectable moves off of this pattern, the better. And this is probably going to be fairly typical for a while, and over time this will grow. Sometimes we'll have as many as 20 or 30 occurrences, and it's possible I've seen as many as 70 or 80 occurrences, depending on the signal. But this is going to be typical, and we're looking for anywhere from 65 to 100% going in one direction. In this case, it's about 89%. Specials anytime soon. What do you mean specials? How could there be anything more special than what I have out there right now? So we have the service available on a yearly subscription, available right now for some ridiculously low price. Now the cost of the service is $12.95. That's what it's going to be per year, and we're only taking yearly. And you can do that in either fiat with your credit card or with crypto. We'll take either. But I'm going to be on vacation for the next few weeks. And so my attention is not going to be like 100%, although all my vacations are kind of like working vacations. So during that time, we're looking to start building up a user base. And right now we've got about 35 people in there. I really haven't done any advertising. I don't intend to do much advertising other than talk a little bit about it here on YouTube, which isn't a huge audience. So the intent is that after that time, if we get about 100 people, that'll be a good starting point for this service. So that's going to be my artificial limit here. I'm going to hold a special price of about $350 for a year subscription until September 1st. After that, it's going to go up to the price that we intend to do it, and then we're going to start doing some marketing. So consider yourself, if you want to get into this right now, as being kind of a founding member of the service. Nathan, no, the signals are not valid for 1 to 4 days. They're valid for 24 hours. But if they trigger, well, they will trigger. I mean, for that time, in that time frame, I guess that's a little bit different. So I guess you're right. They would be valid for 1 to 4 days. So within that time frame, we're expecting there to be a move. As a matter of fact, I did a chart very similar to what you're talking about. So I guess that's right. The signals are valid for 1 to 4 days. And that's unlike the old PatternCast signals, but we expect it to happen within that first 24 hours, I guess is the deal. Considering that there's no entry now. So that is a very, very good point. Let's see if I can find... I did a chart that kind of explains that a little bit. Where is it? Oh, I know where it is. Here we go. Bring this over here. Hide my head a little bit. All right. So here's Bitcoin, and it's showing when the signal was produced. This light blue area shows the next 4 or 5 days, and then the expected move that we would see. So this is kind of like what PatternCast is showing us. It's saying that over this time frame, we expect there to be a move. It could be more than, it could be once, it could be twice, it could be 5 times, but moving up as much as 11.5% within that time frame. All right. So that's, and this is obviously the starting point. So when that signal is released, that's the starting point, and then the extent of that move. Now, does that mean that it could also go down below there? It could, but we're also expecting a move above, up into that 11.5%. Does that mean that you have to wait for the 11.5% to be realized before you take a trade? I would say no. I would say that that is probably not the best strategy. Now, from a statistical point of view, what we found on other PatternCast trades is that about 70% of the triggered calls reach about 70% of the target. So about 70% of the time, we expect to reach about 70% of the target. About 50% of the time, or 50% of the target, we expect that to happen about 85 to 90% of the time. So think about that. If we reach 50% of the target, in other words, if we get up there about 5.25% or 6% move, and while that's not the full 11.5%, you ought to start thinking about taking something off the table. That would be a very high probability event over time. And that is a real definitive edge for you. Nathan is asking, so once new signals are released on a 24-hour period, the new signals invalidate the previous signals? That's another very good question. I don't know that they invalidate it. I think that for this time frame, there's a new pattern out. You have to think about, this is what PatternCast is seeing. So in other words, if we have a signal, and then 2 days later we have another signal, do we forget about the last signal? And I guess that depends on the nature of that new signal. Because what if that new signal is saying it's going even higher? Then that probably doesn't invalidate the previous long. But let's say that it's then saying, well, we're expecting a short. And that probably does invalidate the previous long. Crypto Bacon, what exchange are we going to use for these signals? Whatever exchange that you want. We have chosen a representative of a number of exchanges to aggregate. That should give us fairly widespread across any of the major exchanges. I am personally going to use Kraken as my exchange and where I'm going to do all my trading. Mostly because I'm a U.S. customer and they offer a margin, and so I can go long and short. But you can use just about any exchange that you want. It shouldn't make a difference. As a matter of fact, we've kind of checked this out, that the variance is so small from exchange to exchange that there practically is no difference. So hopefully that makes sense. So Chris asks, yeah, Ernie, there's no entry price, so four days are valid. And yeah, I think that's how you have to look at it. Now you have to think from our point of view. This is what we're seeing. What we see and what PatternCast is telling us is that over the next 4 days, there's a very, very high likelihood that it's going to make this move. And the move has a much stronger positive bias, at least in this particular case, this trade, because we're saying that 8 out of 9 times it's shown a positive move of 11.5%. Now, does that mean that will happen this time? It may. It might only reach half that. It might reach all of that. It might go beyond that. We don't know. But 8 out of 9 times it's done that. That's the way you have to look at it. Again, take a close look at that. So if I gave you, let's see, if I gave you this little piece of data here, what is all this stuff here? There we go. If I gave you this little piece of data here, and I said that PatternCast told us on August 10th that it has found this pattern, and 8 out of 9 times it has moved about 11.5%, or it has reached this target. This is a mean for us. This is the mean target that we see in PatternCast. That's pretty good indication that it's a strong move. All right. If you were to look at it from the time we released it, that actually comes out to about an 11.5% move. That should be enough data to use to figure out a really positive trade here. And that's going to be the nature of these signals. All right, so Nano Virtual says, those who got the $3.49 subscription locks in that price forever. Now that's another very good question. I don't think so. At least I may provide for those people who got in early. When that yearly thing comes up, I may provide a discount off the $12.95. But I don't think that $3.49 is going to be locked in after a year. But for $3.49, if you got in early, $3.49 for a year is a damn good price when you consider that you could probably make 2 or 3 or 4 times that subscription price on every trade. So so I don't think that I will grandfather. Now that was the practice that I used for anything in PatternCast. That's because we were building the business. I said, man, if you get in the early stages of this business, you'll be grandfathered in at that price forever. And that is still true for PatternCast on the regular PatternCast service, but not for this. I can't see that being the way. What about shitcoins? Are you planning to do scans on those like Ethereum or LTC? The problem, Nick, is that there simply isn't enough data. So Gerdup's saying, is it $12.95 or $3.49? I don't understand what the question is. I said, you buy it now until September 1st, and the price is $3.49. After that, it's $12.95. Period. I mean, if you look at the website, it's pretty clear too. Right? You go to the website. No, that's not it. You go to the website. Oh, why is Safari over there? All right, so here's the website. You go to the website and it's very clear. See, there's a $12.95 price, and right now it's $3.49. That sale ends September 1st. Couldn't be more clear. Do I have to make it bigger? And again, I'm doing that because I'm not going to be able to do any kind of real marketing here. We're looking to get those first number of people in there. I think the PatternCast service itself has been proven. If you're not familiar with that, go and look at the testimonials up here. You'll see we have nothing but 5-star testimonials on that service. It is essentially it is really the same technology. We found that regardless of what we apply this to, and our initial inclination is to do this on tradable markets, but you could equally, and with the same kind of edge and confidence, apply this PatternCast technology to just about anything that has a huge set of data. Like, so for instance, in the future, we might look at sports betting, or predicting political outcomes, or even looking and predicting weather. The technology is not specific to trading. The technology is a pattern recognition technology. So we fully expect that we're going to see the same kind of efficacy of predictability that we're getting in all the different things that we've looked at. But this is our way of introducing this out to the real world. So until September 1st, so you'll see. I'm going to be on Martha's Vineyard up into about that time, and so you'll see that's when I come back, that's what the price will go to. So you can take advantage of that right now. You can take advantage of that right now for the next 2.5 weeks or so. Next 3 weeks, I guess. The other thing is, I think if we hit 100 people, I might also take that back, because I don't want to have too many people at that price. But you can take advantage of that right now. Thank you, Gertup. He's buying now. Nathan says, got to reward the loyal followers of the founding members, Ernie, grandfather. Well, I do. As a matter of fact, those people who are part of the PatternCast service, who are lifetime members, automatically get this service. All right? If you have bought a yearly subscription to PatternCast, I haven't thought about that, but perhaps we will grandfather those people in at this price. But other than that, we can't do that. We got to make money. Thank you, Leopold. All I can tell you is that I casually mentioned this the other day, and we've already got, well, what looks like about 40 people now. Let's see. How many people do we have right now? 42 people. We currently have 42 people in the service. So let me be a little bit more clear about this. This is PatternCast, which was written. Now PatternCast is and let me get my talking head up here. PatternCast is a kind of AI pattern recognition technology. It's proprietary to us. It's been under development for about 10 years. I am so super excited about this because the places where this is going to go, it's just unbelievable. But for the markets, we've already shown that this technology is just so incredibly. The only people that have problems with this they're going to look. There are people that trade out there that you could give them winning trades, just hand them a 100% winning trade, and they'll find a way to screw it up. And it has a lot to do with the baggage that they hold, the ideas or the predispositions that they have in their head, and so forth. But over time, they start getting it. They start getting that, oh, I really do have an edge here. I don't have to worry about where the trade's going. I don't have to think about it. I just have to think about what my total pot is, how much I'm willing to risk, and then just go with that and take profits. Manage my winners instead of trying to manage risk. And then they start doing well. There are other people that already get that, and they get it right away, and they start making money. And so that was us applying it to Forex, futures, and stocks, and it's worked fantastically. We extended the performance. We've got well over 100 people into that service, and they're all very happy. 5-star reviews across the board. Now, with volatility being a real factor in that service, in that sometimes volatility contracts, and so the number of opportunities that PatternCast is going to generate are going to ebb and flow. Now, most of the time, volatility is at a reasonable level that will get anywhere as many as 20 trades in a week on there. But sometimes it can come down to just a few trades in a week. And people that are sipping at the fountain of PatternCast and used to all these trades, all of a sudden, instead of getting 10, 15, 20 trades, they get 2 or 3 trades, and they're like, what am I going to do? So we've decided to expand it to other markets where there is a lot of volatility, and Bitcoin is that perfect market. It's a non-traditional market, and for some people, that's all they've ever known is crypto. And so for them, it's just perfect. For others, it might be a little bit of a stretch. So for those people, hey, look, you might want to try the regular PatternCast service at, it is $149 a month, and try that out. There's a 1-week trial. Or just spend the $350 right now and get this for a whole year and have a go of it. Take your time with it, right? I would say that the most important thing that you have to do when taking on a service like this is to start learning the tool, the platform that you're using. Get mastery over that. Trade these things, paper trade them, with simulated trading for the first month or two, and then start getting good at setting up your trades and then taking profits, and then get into it. Those experienced traders that already have that down, this service is like a godsend. SHKN, why don't you grandfather the $349 price for, say, the first 20 members? Nah. Look, what do you want? I'm practically giving it away right now. This is just crazy. I'm crazy for even doing this. The only reason I'm doing this is because I'm not going to, I can't devote my full attention to it. I'm going to be sitting on a beach somewhere for the next few weeks. Not somewhere, but on one of the most beautiful island resorts in the world. That's the only reason why I'm doing this. I'm giving you candy, man. Holy crap. Leopold wants to know anything likely to happen going forward with the Junto project. Maybe, but that, again, as I said all along, and this is kind of a side note, that all depends on the regulatory stance of the SEC and the CFTC, and right now that hasn't changed. And there's nothing I can do about it until the laws change and the regulatory stance changes. My prediction is that once all the shit coins are wiped off the face of the earth and things are stabilized and the SEC has more confidence and the number of fraudulent cases have come down, they'll put out their sensible rules that will make it easy to launch a service like Junto. And that will probably merge, I think, with PatternCast, by the way. The first 50 members. Oh, you're just pushing it, Nathan. Just pushing it. Just get into it. Get into it. Look, you will make enough money on this service that you'll probably be able to save up, once it does go up to that price, to buy the next 5 or 10 years of the service and not have to even blink an eye. So I wouldn't really worry about it. How many signals a week? That I can't tell you. Maybe a few. Gold just shot up $10. Yeah. What about silver? Did it shoot up too? Yeah. Silver went up a little bit. It's at $17. If silver breaks the 1740 area, it could really rocket. Let's see what gold is. This is a little bit off topic, but it's okay. So yeah, gold has really shot up tremendously, and I think gold is in a different place than silver. You can see gold go up as high as 1560, I think, before it meets any real resistance. Although right here we have a small node here, it's possible that this might be an area where we could turn around. I don't see gold really going much higher, maybe a little bit higher. So there we go, PatternCast. Now, along with PatternCast, you get access to our trade room. It's a Discord-based trade room where we'll have periodic meetings there. Kind of like internal webinars. You can talk to hundreds of other traders on the server and talk about PatternCast signals in particular inside the private trade room. And so that's a great service. And we're really focused on customer support and transparency in everything that we do. And I think that's what makes our service just a great service and why we get 5-star reviews. So that's about all I have to say here right now. I'm going to be talking about PatternCast more, and particularly BitcoinCast more in the future. We'll start really promoting it after September 1st. I expect this service will probably grow to 500, 1,000, maybe 2,000 people. So if you want to get in on it now at that kind of price, now is the time to do it. Trust me, you will not regret it. I can guarantee that I will guarantee everybody I will make this a great service for you. And that's it, period. So everybody, thank you very much. Please like this video. Share it out in your social media. Tell your friends. Maybe after September 1st, I'll also have an affiliate program if you're interested in that. So if you have a friend and you want to kind of reduce the cost of your service and you refer a friend, there will be maybe I could kick something back to you. That is something that I would be willing to do. And at $12.95, you get a significant kickback. Maybe if you maybe we'll say something like if you get 3 friends, that might wipe out your yearly subscription fee. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. You bring in 3 friends and your $12.95 a year is wiped out and you have the service for free. All right, I'm going to put that together as a matter of fact, but I'm not going to put it together until after I come back. So I want to thank everybody very much for being here. Again, like this video, go down and smash that like button. Make sure that you click that little notification bell. So the next time I'm going to be putting out trades, by the way, a lot of trades over the next coming couple of weeks too, that are generated by PatternCast, kind of haphazardly, randomly out there, just so people start getting a taste for it, both for the Bitcoin service and for the other service. Just random trades. I'm not going to obviously not going to put the whole service out there. That's not fair to the people who are paying subscribers. But just to show what's going on, all of the results of all of our trades can be found on the PatternCast website if you go to the results link. I haven't put up the July results yet, because we've been so busy trying to launch this and also work with our broker partner that it's been tough. But that'll be coming up soon. And so take a look at that. Take a look at the testimonials, and stay tuned for me putting out trades here and there. But take advantage of this service here right now at this price. I mean, you can pay either in crypto or in fiat. You won't be sorry. You just won't. You're going to make that money many, many, many times over through this service. I feel 100% confident in that, and particularly with the performance that we've shown so far. It's just been off the charts. So again, thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next video. I'll be back here tomorrow. We'll come up with some really great topics this week. we're going to really get heavy duty on, am I going to be rah-rah on Bitcoin now? No, not as a technology, not as from the ecosystem. I'm always going to be a contrarian and a critic of that. But I think it is a fantastic trading vehicle. And we can take advantage of that with PatternCast. You can use PatternCast as your way to accumulate Bitcoin if that's what you're into. And I think that's exactly what I plan on doing. Accumulating Bitcoin and accumulating gold. That's what I want to do. All right. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.